In this video, I'm going to teach you how to make fake blood for film. Shh.
That was stressful.
Now, I've had several people ask me about the blood and the makeup for ITHACA, and they're surprised when they see how easy it was to make. So considering that it is the month of Halloween, I'm going to show you how we did it so that you can use it for your next film, your next Halloween costume, prom night, first communion. Now, over the last decade, I've been covered in a lot of blood as an actor. And not just on film, but I've been covered and mixed several different kinds of blood for mass casualty simulations and exercises to help train first responders. I was covered in so much blood that for 24/7 I looked like Patrick Bateman after a Tinder date. That's a lot of blood! Yeah, that's a lot of blood. There have been some great movies where the main characters are just completely drenched in blood. Carrie, Huey from The Boys, Elton John. So shout out in the comments which one has been your favorite. Let's hear it. Also, stay tuned until the very end because we have a very special announcement for you. When I was making ITHACA and doing all the research on how I wanted to make blood, I found one recipe that I absolutely adored. I cannot take credit for making this recipe. I found it from a YouTuber named Jay Couture. He posted it about 8 years ago. Let me show you how we did it and the best ways to use it. Cue the uplifting baking show music and let's play in some blood. The first ingredient that you need is Wilton red icing color. Wilton icing can be found at the Party Store or Party City in the baking section for about $2, and if you're in the store physically, they are usually stacked into a rack that allows you to see just the top of the container, which is marked with a colored dot, but you can also order them on their websites. And the second ingredient is corn syrup, and you know where to find that, you silly goose. To go ahead and open the container, you'll notice that it's a syrupy gel consistency, and pour out that bad boy into a bowl of your choosing. Now, what I really liked about this was that I could get a lot of use out of the icing container itself. If I needed makeup for a quick fix, to add onto my fingers or around my eyes or my costume, the color on the inside was still very vibrant, so I would recommend keeping the container. The lid of the container can screw right back on to the top, and a little of this blood goes a long way. So add that corn syrup in and start mixing. And you can start with adding about 3/4 of a cup of that corn syrup. You can add more later. It entirely depends on how much you plan on using. And in just a second, I'm going to do a split screen so you can see what the color looks like without any sort of color grade over the top. And I'll show you some clips from ITHACA where we used this recipe. So this is sticky. So you don't want to put this into a spray bottle because that's just going to gunk it up. But it does have a great shine to it when the light hits it. And I did not notice the color turning pink at all over time. And like I said, I could easily put this into a small vial and carry that in my costume. Now, if you want, you can add the tiniest amount of Wilton black icing color, barely a Q-tip amount of that black icing, but this will darken the red if you like. So it does come off with baby wipes, soap and water, eye makeup removal. It does come out of clothing, so give it a shot. You'll have a lot of fun with this. So for ITHACA, this blood answered about 98% of our blood needs. I needed to have blood on my hands, dried blood on my face, and on my costume and other people's costumes. I needed to create pools of blood. This needed to be on skin, white linen, snow, and water. This had the right color that I needed, the right shine, and it needed to be on me the whole day without me having to constantly reapply it. And it had to be applied quickly. The great thing about it is it could go from being thick to being very runny when I mixed it with a little bit of sweat or water and snow. And when you let this blood just move organically, it really created some beautiful things. So these are the clips from ITHACA where we used it. And like I said, a little bit of this goes a long way. It was very versatile for us. Now, when you're planning on using fake blood on screen, there are 3 things that you want to keep in mind that'll help you decide what kind of fake blood you want to be using, because each recipe brings something a little bit different. Some recipes can be very thick, like this one, There's some that are powders. You just add a little bit of water. The uses for them are going to be different, but it all comes down to how you apply it. Number one, what's required of the blood in the scene? Are you creating a big bloody massacre in a hallway? Are you creating blood splatter that's on the wall? Do you need blood that's spewing out of an artery, in which case you'll need an apparatus for that? Or are you creating something small, just a superficial wound? Number two, what kind of surface is it going on? Is it going on brick walls? Is it going on white cloth? Is it going on skin, water, snow? Depending on what surface you're trying to put it on, it may look different than you had intended. And the third thing you really want to consider is how long is this blood going to be on screen? If you have a shot that's about 1 to 2 seconds and your initial idea was to have blood spurting out of a wound, that's perfectly fine, but you do want to keep in mind that it will take time to set up that apparatus, and there's always a chance that it might fail when you need to shoot, and that can eat up precious filming time. So you may want to consider, is there a different way to convey what I want and still get that same kind of shock value? Also, some fake blood can look fantastic when it's first applied, but then as the day goes on, it may change color. So what started out as just a nice bold red turns into pink about 30 minutes later, and then you have to keep reapplying more blood. I've noticed that more with the powdered blood mixes. So for ITHACA, this blood recipe answered about 98% of what I needed the blood to do. It does not smell. If it gets in your mouth, it's no problem. It has a nice sweet taste to it because it's icing. ITHACA update. So I'm not going to be uploading a video next week or the week after that, and the reason is I'm doing a lot of research for ITHACA. I'm doing a lot of research for ITHACA Season 2, and I'm having several interviews with masters in a variety of fun subjects that are all going to play into the second season. And I'm also hosting several discussions with friends and fans who enjoyed ITHACA Season 1. We're talking about the themes that resonated with them the most and how they think those are going to play out in Season 2. As the second season is being constructed, I wanted to make sure that I maintained dialogue with those who've been so emotionally invested in the story. It is extremely important to me to acknowledge the empathy that you had as a viewer towards the characters and the themes in this story. And I wanted to give you the opportunity to share those thoughts so that I can better maintain and expand on what kept you engaged in the first place. So I'd love for you to be a part of this creative process and to let your voice be heard. If you're interested in participating in any one of these discussions, send an email to the address that's linked in the description. And finally, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like them, hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoyed ITHACA Season 1 and you want to see what happens in the next part of the story, you want to see what happens in the next chapter, you want to see ITHACA Season 2, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and share ITHACA. Until the next video, I will see you in the arena.